Hi there and welcome to Bitrix24 Live. My name's Andy and I am the technical manager here at Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. So as I mentioned, we're Gold Partners of Bitrix24 and we have locations in the US, in the UK and also in Dubai. We offer a whole range of different services from implementation of Bitrix. So whether you are wanting to start using the cloud version or the on-premise, we offer services to implement that in your business. We also offer pre-sale support. So if you need a one-to-one demonstration of any Bitrix product with your team, then we can provide that online or on site. And then we also offer premium support services, so we can provide telephone support and we can also provide ticketing support as you continue to use Bitrix throughout the year. So this session today is going to be an hour long as we get enough questions, but I can answer any questions that you may have on Bitrix24, whether it's going to be the free cloud version through to one of the commercial cloud packages or the on-premise solution. I have both systems open to show you today. If you do have any questions, do put them in the box provided on YouTube. If you have any questions that come to you throughout the week, then please do send them to sales@intraface.com, and we usually start each session off with those questions. So we do have a few that have come in already. So one of the questions that's come in is quite a common one that we get just with regards to the mobile application. Can I upload pictures into a deal using the mobile app? And the answer is yes. So as long as you create a field within the deal that is a file type for being able to upload files, then you can add and upload files to that particular deal. So you can see I've just switched into Bitrix on the screen here, and we go into the CRM. So those of you that are relatively new inside Bitrix, then you can add custom fields in any of the CRM sections, whether it be a lead, deal, contact company, quote, or invoice. So if I click on settings here, and then go to form and report settings, click on custom fields, and the question was about uploading pictures to a deal. Then all you would need to do, click on add field here, and then we can say photo uploads. Make sure that we select the file type here, click on save, and then if we go into the deals, and if we just go to add a new deal, then what we can do is we can include this particular field, photo uploads, that we've just created into this particular section. So that will mean that it will be available then to add to on your mobile. So it's definitely a good way of adding pictures whilst on the move on your mobile device. Following on from that, another common question that we generally get is about adding images and files to things such as deals. Now, that is one method. The alternate method of adding files and pictures is if we actually went into a deal, for example, here, and we can use the activity stream on the right hand side of a deal. So we can click on here, click on upload files, and if I go into here and let's click on a sample image, we can say and then click into the comments section, click on insert, and then we can insert an image directly into the comment itself. So it is quite useful for some people to track and trace that. And you can always pull up as well, just another feature while we're in here, you can always pull up and filter all comments. So if I click in here, click on comment, click on search, that will then give me a filtered list of all the comments that have ever been added to this particular deal. And what I'm showing you on here is not just available in a deal, it's available in a lead, it's available in a contact and a company. So you can add your files and images on here, and then you can filter them out on the right hand side here. So this tends to be pretty useful for some people. So I've got a question, is there an extra cost if you record calls? So no, there's no extra cost at all. So if we just jump into our on-premise version here and go into our telephony section, so you can see here telephony. And the only cost entailed with regards to the telephony is if you are to rent a number from Bitrix. So you can rent a number wherever you are. Just click on rent a number here and you can specify the region that you're in. So if we said USA, you can choose the type of number, local or toll-free. And then you can specify the category of that toll-free number in here. And you can see that would only be the cost that you would be charged other than the calls that you make out of Bitrix. So you're not charged for incoming calls, you're only charged for outbound calls. So the monthly line rental is $6 per month for that kind of number. You would pay the call rates for dialing that particular number. But with regards to the call recording, if we click onto call details here, then you can see, for example, in this case, we have a call that is being recorded. This is the record column here. We can download the call or we can play it directly from within Bitrix. And there is no cost for that facility of recording calls. One of the other good features with recording calls in Bitrix is that if we go into the CRM, and let's say you have Bitrix telephony connected up, and this number here was to dial into your number that you're renting, it would come up with the person who is that number is associated against. So it would come up with Mark Moon and any activity in a pop-up window on the screen. And then if, with regards to call recording, you can see here that we've dialed this particular number from within Bitrix on an outbound call, and you can see here the recording is associated to that particular contact in the CRM. So it just allows you then to build up a history of all communications with that particular customer. And that's the same not just for outbound. As I mentioned, if this customer was to call in, it would record the call and put it into that particular contacts activity stream in the CRM. So you can see here we can build up a whole history of communication with this particular customer. And again, using the filtering tool, we can then say, let's just show me all the calls that have been made to this particular customer. Or we've received from the customer, and you can see we've made a number of outbound calls to Mark Moon. So it definitely is a handy tool to be using. So like I mentioned, do put your questions in the box on YouTube and I can answer them as we go along. We have a question that has come through again earlier, and it's with regards to, is there any way to link the CRM with workgroups? So again, it's quite a common question that we get because workgroups tend to focus on the project management side of Bitrix. So you would create a project group in here. So if I was to click on here and click on Mega Project, and you can see this is where all the tasks would reside for that particular project here. So you can see a number of tasks. We have a particular range of stages. And the question was, is there any way to link it? So how you should generally work when you're working in a particular work group, you should be able to associate the tasks involved in the particular project to the entity that you want to link it to in the CRM. So if I was to click in financial report here and then just click on edit, if we click on the more icon at the bottom, then scroll down here so we see CRM, and then I can attach it to, let's just say, Graham Smith, for example. So I can attach a task that's within a project that is within a work group to a contact in the CRM. I could also attach it to a company, a lead, a deal, or an order as well, but you can see here we have now attached it to the contact Graham Smith. So if I was to click on that and go through to Graham Smith, you can now see on the right hand side all the tasks that are associated to that particular contact. So if I click on financial report, it'll open it out and you can see that it's linked to the mega project. So that's one way of linking a work group as such, so the tasks inside a work group to the CRM. The other way is actually taking the URL of the group here. So if I was to click on this, and then let's just say, for example, I wanted to add a field and I wanted to add a link field. So we could call that new custom field work group, or maybe associated work group, and click on save. And I click in here, click on paste in my work group link, and then it would link me directly to the project. So that is really the only ways of being able to associate a work group to the CRM, because they are quite standalone modules inside Bitrix. One of the other things that you may do that all automatically. So let's say, for example, we've covered this a little bit in previous live sessions, but if you are in the CRM and let's just say, for example, a deal, once you close out a deal, so if I go into a pipeline that's got some deals in it, once you close out this particular deal to start a project off, what you can do is you can set some automation in place. So if I was to remove that and click into Edit in Workflow Designer, what we could do here is, and like I say, we have covered this a little bit in previous sessions. So we can click on the Create Work Group action block on the right hand side here. So I think, there we go, it's in the other section. So if I was to just click, drag, and drop this into the business process editor, then we can create the work group directly from in here. So that sort of, again, links it to the CRM side of things. So I'll put our contact details up on the screen for the moment. As I mentioned at the start, we do have an office in the US, in the UK, and in Dubai. So we can answer any pre-sales support questions. So whether you want a one-to-one demonstration of Bitrix, or if you wanted some advice or some help implementing Bitrix inside your business, then it's going to be a case of just getting in touch with us, and we can tailor any demonstration or implementation plan to your business. So again, please get your questions in. I've got a few more questions in here. I've got a question that says, when Office 365 is connected to Bitrix24, will items such as tasks automatically populate in a work group. So Office 365, you essentially would integrate it to use for your document management side of Bitrix. So if we go into our document drive and then into the company drive here, then there's a little gear icon that we can click on that says settings for working with documents. And if I was to click on this, then we can decide whether we want to work on them locally or in the cloud. And if we were to select in the cloud, then what that would enable us to do, if we did have Office 365 integrated, then it would allow us to use a cloud-based product such as Microsoft Word or Excel or anything like that. So in the cloud also offers services such as Google Docs. So if you wanted to work on a document inside Bitrix in Google Docs, then you can simply click on the document, and you can see here, click on the Google Edit, and then it would open up in the Google Docs. So once that loads up, I'm not 100% sure if it's connected. It is actually connected. So you can see here, demo document, and it's opened it up in Google Docs here. So it's very similar for Office 365. It's definitely a great tool to use to be able to edit documents quickly and easily inside Bitrix, and then you can decide whether you want to save the document back into Bitrix once you've closed that Google Doc down. And that's exactly the same with Office 365. You can also connect your calendars, so Outlook, you can connect into Bitrix. I'm on a Mac here, so when I click on the sync calendar, it will give me the Mac calendar. If I had an Outlook, it would also give me an Outlook option on here too. Okay. Got a question. At change of a lead status, can I start a workflow rather than another based on the company type involved in a lead? For example, if the company type is client, start the workflow 1. Then if the company type is partner, start the workflow type 2. Yeah, so you can do that. It's just based on conditional elements. So if you're in a lead, then I guess what depends if you've got a lead already assigned to a company, because it's going to be difficult to get that company data, I would have thought, using the standard automation rules. If you had a lead that was a specific type, so if I go into the automation rules here and click on configure automation rules, then what we can do is, for example, you mentioned start a workflow. You probably would need to go, let's change this. Let me just click on cancel and just click on configure again. And if we go into the progress lead, I would probably recommend doing it in the edit in workflow designer, because what you can do there then is, if we just remove that, so you wouldn't need a commercial package for this, because you get the workflow designer tool in here. But all you would need to do is drop the condition tool in, and then it would look in a field inside the lead itself. So we could have, for example, country, and or let's see if we've got a drop down. Source is equal to call. And then we could have source is equal to something else. So we could have source is equal to. So that's probably where you would have your company type. It would have to be a field within a lead. And then what you can do based on that initial check, so this is going to run as soon as that lead hits that particular status, then we can perform whatever we want to perform in here. So we could drag a number of tasks down this side. we could then maybe have an approval. So this would go down this route for your company type, and then for your other one, you could go down a different route. And that's how you would have two workflows essentially in one workflow. So if I was to just do it to show you how it would work, is if I sent a notification to myself, I'm logged in as the user John Smith, so I could say call, and then what we could do is send in the same notification, and we'll just change the content of that to be email. So if I click on save now, then as long as our lead that we're in has a source of phone, so I think, let's have a look if we have source of call, and we move that into progress lead, then you can have a required field in there, and you can see then we get a notification for call. If I was then to test it out and put email and come out of here and then go back into the progress lead, we should now get a notification up here that says email. So you can branch off based on the relevant content that is within a lead, and it's the same theory as well once you're in a deal. So you can check fields that exist. There is also an option, I do believe, so if we just click back into our workflow tool that we were in here a moment ago, and I do believe in CRM there is an action block that says get CRM data. So if we were to get entity ID of the lead and then select company, and you can see here company type, so get company type, and then using that we could then, I think if we just trying to see if we could use it in here, I don't think we could at the moment, but what we possibly could do is, let me see if I can, so we can get company type here. So what I'm going to do is, because this is if you have a lead with an associated company and you want the company type, then what we'll need to do is go to template parameters, create a new variable, and we'll call it company type, and we'll give it a string, and we'll save. And then in here we can set the value of that to the data that it's collecting from the company that's associated to it. And then you can, based on your company type, then you should be able to set that variable there. So let's see if this would work. And then we can use variable here, company type. I think it might need a little bit of tweaking, but if we go into here and let's add a company, so I think that will be under client and add a company. So I think Bread Limited is our company. So you can see here, Bread Limited has a company type of reseller. So if I now go into progress lead, click on save, I think it's stopped. Yeah, it's stopped on here. But that's, in theory, that's how you would get the associated company type and use it and branch it off in there. Set it as a variable, and then you can trigger it from there. I added the UpCall Helper free, Bitrix24. Do you know how many users can use this app? I don't, unfortunately. I know Bitrix offers a whole range of different applications. So if we go into our cloud site, so it might be useful for some other people just to be aware of. You can have Call Helper free. Let's have a look on here. So Bitrix offers an application store where you can download third-party applications. So maybe sometimes there isn't a tool that is missing. Maybe it's missing for you in Bitrix. Then you can see in here generally the applications that you can download. Some of them do have costs involved with them once you've downloaded them. There are like in-app charges, but most of them do offer some free capability to use within your system. I don't know where Call Helper. Let's have a look back in. So on here, I'm not sure how many users. Just wondered if it would have told us on here. Maybe visit the website. You can see it offers different sales scripts to be able to move your calls through a different channel. But yeah, you would have to get in touch with them. It's not created by Bitrix, this application, so it's just created by a third party called Kit Media. So it can be, like I say, it can be a handy place for you. There are one of the most popular ones at the minute. There is Zapier in here. So if you type in Zapier, you can connect. You can see here Zapier for the CRM, for tasks and communications. So that's quite a popular one to use inside Bitrix. So just put our contact details on the screen again. If you do have any questions about any pre-sales support that you need for you or your business, get in touch with us using the contact details on the screen. We can arrange a demonstration online to you and your team. Just get in touch with us wherever your local office is. We're in the US, we're in the UK, and we're in Dubai. We have this session every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's generally an hour long, as long as we keep getting the questions through. So so please do subscribe to the Bitrix24 YouTube channel, and you will get notified once we go live. So I've got a question, and it's something that we've been doing fairly frequently recently, and it's about customers being on a cloud system. So cloud is generally a free account through to the CRM Plus, the Project Plus, Standard, and Professional clouds. And sometimes a client requires an on-premise version for a number of different reasons, whether it's some of the added features that the on-premise brings, or if they want to host it internally within their office. Then they want to migrate from the cloud to the on-premise. And that is absolutely possible. You can migrate everything, including, like the question asks for, workflows and automation. And yes, absolutely, it will migrate everything. So all that's needed, generally it's useful if you've got a partner involved, because we can do it, or we can help do it all for you generally. So we would request the backup from Bitrix. So they would then provide that in a file, and then we would restore that on your server in a pre-configured environment that supports the Bitrix on-premise. And then, yeah, it's as simple as that, really. And everything will migrate. There are a few tweaks that you need to do, but it is quite a plain, straightforward process to do that. When I create, I've got another question. When I create a task, can it create a task ID number? So when you do create a task, they generally, well, always, it will always create a task ID. So in our system here, once we click on a new task, we can say here, task title. We can click on add task, and once that adds, click on here, you can see that it's got a task ID number. Task ID number is unique. You can never have two of the same task IDs. So yeah, in general, it would always create you a unique task ID. So yeah, please put your questions in the box. I'll just give a couple of new features in Bitrix. We've only got a couple more questions, so I'll stay online for the next probably 10 minutes if we don't get any more. But I've got a couple more questions, but I was wanting to just show you a couple of the features that are new inside Bitrix. So if we go into workgroups, what we can do now in workgroups is the ability to copy them and replicate them. And this is a really good feature, and it's quite a new one inside Bitrix. So sorry, once you're in a work group, click on Actions, click on Copy Project, click on More, and you can see here the features that you can copy to a brand new work group. So not only can you bring the members, but you can also bring in all the tasks. Maybe you have a templated project that you keep doing over and over again. Now this is a really good feature because you can just template the first work group that you have out with 50, 60 different tasks, or with the checklists in. You can have your automation rules for your project Kanban. You can have specific folders with files in that particular project, and you can have your own lists as well. So this will just simply duplicate all the features, all the content of those features into a new work group. So it is a very handy tool to have. It was commonly requested. The way that I would use it is, like I say, if you have, maybe you're a website design agency, or if we went down that route, then you can create a project work group for website design. In that project work group, you could have specific project stages for that website design. So everything from design concept through to showing to the customer. You can have all those stages within your Kanban in your website project work group. So you could have all these. You can see initial step, manufacturing, development, and then you can just simply create that templated work group, and each time you get a new client on, you can then copy that templated work group for that particular kind of project. And not only that, you can have in your drive, maybe you have contract folders, you have design asset folders. So it just means that every time you create that website design project, you already have everything pre-built in. You don't need to manually create it each time. It's definitely a good way of working if you do have similar kinds of projects over and over again. So that is found in the Actions and then in the Copy Project menu link. Got a question, can you create a checklist that needs to be completed in order to proceed to the next stage? Yeah, you can't at the moment. It would be a good feature, and certainly can put it to Bitrix, but it's not something that would restrict you from being able to move to the next stage of this particular Kanban view. So for those of you that aren't aware, but you can, what the question is regarding, I do believe is with these checklist items here. So we could say item 1, item 2, item 3, click off here, and then it would be good to be able to put a restriction on. So if I click on finish this, and then I try to move it to, sorry, click on save, and then I try to move it to this particular manufacturing stage, it would be good if it blocked you from doing it, because it says only 2 of the 3 have been completed. But it's not possible at the moment, unfortunately. But it's definitely a feature request I think that would be useful. Yeah, without a doubt. It's pretty similar in the CRM, because if you do use the CRM, it's a similar sort of feature to what you've just requested there. Whereas if we had, let's just say, a comment in here, if we click on edit settings, it's sort of saying required starting with stage. So if you were to move out of here, and only the comment would be required in the project tasks complete, click on save, it's sort of saying that, isn't it? It's like the comment is required. We're already on this one, so if I moved it to the next one, click on save. So then now when I move it to project review follow-up, what it's going to ask me to do is going to ask me to fill in that comment because it's been empty before it reaches that project stage. So it's sort of taking the same concept and putting it in the task side of things with the checklist. And again, it's something that we should try and get Bitrix to implement on there. But yeah, this is a cool feature. It's a very similar one to that you requested. Just wanted to point it out that it is in here if you wanted to use it within the deals. So I'll just put our contact details up on the screen again. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we're interfaced with gold partners of Bitrix24. We offer a whole range of services, pre-sale support, and we can offer implementation services. We can host Bitrix if you're wanting to have the on-premise version. And we also offer our premium level of support. So we offer telephone and ticketing support as well. So I think I only have a couple more questions. I have one more question, and then probably just look at one more of the new features inside Bitrix. I've got to say, just going back to the automation side of the project Kanban, is can a task automatically update to the next stage, or do I have to manually progress it? So there's a number of ways you can automatically move a task to the next stage, and you use the automation rules up here. So if we click on configure automation rules, then what we can do is we can use a trigger to automatically move it to the next stage. So if we click on here, then we can say task is, let's say, urgent, requires attention when the task is overdue. So we can say, yeah, we'll leave it as overdue. So if I click on save, and let's have a look at a particular task. So you can actually see there are a few tasks overdue. If I click on, and click on here, not sure if it will do it with regards to it being, I click on save. Don't think it will do it without it naturally progressing, but a trigger will automatically move it to the next stage if you wanted. So if it went overdue past the deadline, it would move it. So you can actually see it's moved it now. It's taking a little bit of time, but if I refresh this, you can see that that moved it to the urgent. So a trigger is something that happens to automatically move it to a particular column in your Kanban view. You can also progress things on with one of the automation rules. So you can have it as change stage. So we can click into here and click on to urgent, requires attention. So that would only happen once it performs the first automation rule, then we can perform the second, and then it will perform the third. So you can stack them on top of one another which can be quite useful, especially if you've got time delays. So it may be that instead of running this immediately, we'll run in 5 days' time. And then in this one, we'll wait for the previous automation. So after the previous automation, then we'll change the stage. So the webhook will happen instantly. Bitrix will then wait 5 days to change the responsible person. And then after it's changed the responsible person, the change stage will move. So it will move it into the development stage, or I think we said to the urgent stage. So that's another way of being able to automatically move a task into another stage on there. Okay, got another question that came through just with regards to if I invite an external user into a project, can they edit documents and do they take up a license if I invite them into my system? So an extranet is really good, really useful if you want to invite clients into Bitrix. So for those of you who don't know, Bitrix has an intranet and it also has an extranet. So if I go to our extranet on our cloud site, you can see that essentially it looks the same as your intranet, but it's a very slimmed down version of the system. So an extranet user would never have access to the CRM or any of your internal communications. They would only have access to one of the project groups, the external project groups that you have invited them to. So Buzzco, Amiga Corp, Zoom Limited, those three are external work groups that your client has been invited to. The question was, can they edit documents? So absolutely. So if we go into a work group here, click on the drive, then as long as they've got access to the documents, because you can put access permissions on your drive, then you can, so for example, what we tend to say if you are creating an external work group inside Bitrix is have your group owner and your group moderators as your employees and your staff, and have your external users they will just normally be your group members. That will then allow you to put permissions on folders and files to hide. So if I wanted to hide to all group members, click off that. That would mean that only the group owner and only the group moderators would be able to see that file or folder that I've assigned that permission to. So they can still use, as long as you've got it set up, so settings for working with documents in the cloud, they would still be able to click on here. If I just click back into the cloud, in the cloud. Locally means that you would have to download it and then re-upload it back into Bitrix. But seeing as though I'm in the cloud here, if I click on edit, then again, it's going to want me to sign into a Google account and then use it on here. I'm on the cloud version. I showed you how to edit documents on the on-premise version that was on the screen a moment ago. So yeah, absolutely. On the module website builder, do you have a horizontal drop-down menu option already created, or has it to be created using the HTML, CSS, and JS? It's a good question, and it's one that I'm not aware of. If you click into sites, let's just have a quick look at what blocks are available. I'd imagine if you've been in here already and you can't find it, then unfortunately the option will be to I just click into here and let's edit this particular page. So we do have for these, but for a drop down, I'm not 100% certain in all honesty. So you can see we have these blocks. I don't think it's going to give, unless we can. Yeah, I just wondered if you could drag, maybe for things, I don't know if you're familiar with WordPress, you would drag and drop it so it indents into it. So it doesn't look like that's possible at the moment. So yeah, you'll probably need to, instead of using that, you click on add block here, click on other, and then click on the HTML code option here to be able to give you, so if I added that in here, you could add and render the HTML in there. So that's probably going to be the only way at this moment in time. So I think that's it for the questions at the moment. Like I say, if you've got any questions, do please put it in the box in the next minute or so. But I think other than that, we've gone through quite a lot of questions that came through during the week, as well as the ones that have been put in on YouTube. And I mentioned right at the beginning, if you do have questions that come to you during the week, please do put them to us at sales@intraface.com. And we can generally start each session off with those particular questions. So all these sessions are recorded as well and posted onto the Bitrix24 YouTube channel. So if you do ask a question in a week and you actually miss the session, then we can always you can always look back at the recording. So I think that's it. So if you do, we're here every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. If you have any particular interests in focusing on any different modules, then we do webinars as well on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we focused on things such as Bitrix telephony, Bitrix24 sites, the CRM, business processes, project management, and the self-hosted system on its own. So we focus our webinars on those. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next week.